Hey everyone. So, jumping right into it, obviously the big thing to talk about with this chapter is we see that somehow Ziggy is alive and well, which I have to assume then that the scene of him arriving on the dead world a couple chapters back wasn't flashback but present day. I think I might have mixed the two up. But now the big question is, how is he here? Like, I have to assume either this is Universe Zero's version of Shiggy because the last we saw of our Ziggy, Shiggy destroyed him, but and this is probably the other way of it. The only other way I could see this being our Ziggy is if he found a way to live on after his death, because if he knew Void had corrupted him, I guess it would make sense he found a way to do that. I guess he found a way in order to preserve himself, possibly through a similar means that the Starshines use in order to record their memory data. But either way, his return definitely brings up more than a couple questions of just in general how is he back. But I also gotta say that with Ziggy's arrival, this might potentially solve one of the arc's bigger questions. As full disclosure, when I was talking about the final battle with one last chapter, I had done so kind of forgetting about the fact that we still have Cure and Freya to deal with. So, with Ziggy's return and arrival to the battlefield, I'm kind of making a personal prediction that at bare minimum, I think Cure probably isn't too far behind in terms of being reintroduced into the story in order to set up a proper 2v2. Because if Mashima is having Ziggy tag in here, then that just makes me think it's not going to remain a 2v1 fight for long. I'm still trying to, for me, I'm still trying to figure out how Mashima is going to work Freya into this, because I've got an inkling of an idea, just don't have anything concrete to say about it. But yeah, I think probably Cure is likely to in the same way that Ziggy tagged into this fight. I think Cure probably isn't too far behind. I think Cure. I think he's definitely going to be the one in order to fight. In tag into this fight, honestly. But okay. With that said, though, we also get a reaffirmation of Void's goals in the chapter, which is to destroy Mother, and in doing so, humans will cease to exist. And I'm not gonna lie, even though obviously we're meant to side with Shiki as his more hopeful and Drew his more hopeful and optimistic perspective, I can't lie either. Being the cynical asshole that I am, Void kinda has a point that I can't help but to an extent agree with, because especially in context of everything we've seen and experienced in the story so far, because at the end of the day, no matter how much Shiki has fought against the problem of just the absolute divide between human and machine, just it always pops itself back up again in some shape or form. He's never been able to actually find a solution, and in some ways, I think that definitely is what makes the pretty much struggle that Shiki's gone through so much more realistic. But at the same time, I think Shiki's whole thing of only ever leading up to hope and faith hope and faith in humanity is kind of the wrong way to look at this, which is honestly why I think a lot of the initial parts of this saga have also kind of rubbed me the wrong way as well, which is, compared to other timelines and other universes, it does feel like things have worked out a little too perfectly for our heroes in regards to just how easily they've overcome obstacles from their world and that have transferred over into Universe Zero. And in some ways, I get it, because for Mashima, there's probably only so many ways he could have reinvented the wheel on a lot of these encounters, like the encounter with Shura, the encounter with Drac and Joe, all of it. But, and I think, and if I'm being fair, I think the thing Mashima was trying to get across, just through all of that, and especially in this chapter as well, is that Shiki has already gone through his arc of experiencing the worst humanity has to offer, and he's come out a stronger person for it, becoming the antithesis of Void. It's just, in my opinion, the way Mashima is structured, just this particular version of the journey, and especially the verbal back and forth between the two of them, Void does kind of come out of that encounter having the slightly stronger argument, in my opinion. Like, it's just that in general, I feel like I feel like with this story we've experienced more of the worst humanity has to offer, and not as much of the good in it. Like, again, I know a lot of this is basically, I know Mashma did try to show us the good in humanity with this Universe Zero stuff, but it's like and he is in some ways succeeded, but others it feels like he did drop the ball just a little bit. But yeah, and with that being said, I also gotta say this chapter does ease. With that being said, though, I gotta say this chapter does ease a few of my fears that Void isn't gonna be going down easily, because as we see before Ziggy even shows up, Void himself really does overpower Shiki and push him up against the wall, and like the fact that even Shiki in his overdrive form is barely doing anything to Void really says everything we need to know about how powerful he is. And while I don't want to call out a death prematurely, I don't even know. I don't know if even Ziggy is gonna be enough to defeat Void. At least not if this ends up going the route I predict. If it's starting off as a 2v2, but then Cure shows up to make it a 2v2, like 2v1, and then Cure shows up to make it a 2v2. That's where I fear Void might truly gain the upper hand and possibly end up killing Ziggy, or worse yet, gaining control of him. Like, I don't know. I just kind of got this uneasy feeling that Ziggy's arrival isn't gonna really shift the tide in the way we think it's going to. Like, I don't think Mashima would bring him back just to kill him off right away, but I just get this feeling it's still gonna happen regardless. Like, that Ziggy's whole Ziggy's rival is gonna shift the tide for a little bit, but it's not gonna shift the tide in a way that's going to stop. That's gonna stop Void, honestly. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and on Crunchyroll. Be sure to notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight signing off. Later, everyone.